Imagine this. The government passes a law requiring everyone to install cameras inside of their homes. They promise, don't worry, no one will misuse the footage. It's just to keep your children safe. Would you feel comfortable? Because that, digitally speaking, is what the EU almost tried to do. Let me explain. This is All Things Secured. My name is Josh, and I want to take a moment to explain something known as chat control. Even if you're not located in the European Union, this is important. It's an EU proposal designed, at least on paper, to protect children online by scanning private messages and emails for child sexual abuse material.
Chat control is a bill that is supposed to scan for child pornography on messages, on emails, everywhere. By doing so, it's mass surveillance because you don't just scan the data of criminals, but you scan everybody's data.
That's Hannah, who works with Tuda, an end-to-end encrypted email service based in Germany. They, along with many other companies in the EU, would have been directly affected by this bill first introduced in 2022. If passed, it would have required EU authorities to force tech companies, even those offering end-to-end encryption, to install scanning systems that automatically inspect your messages before they're encrypted. According to the Danish Minister of Justice who put forth this proposal, we shouldn't expect the right to communicate on encrypted messaging services. So to understand why that's so dangerous, let's go back to our home camera analogy. You can say the footage is private because it's stored locally, but if a government tool can access that footage before it's locked away, then it's no longer private. And that's exactly what Chat Control proposed, a mechanism known as client-side scanning.
The EU argues that because it's client-side scanning, they say it's not breaking end-to-end encryption. The problem here is because of that, there is some tool, some AI scanning messages on your phone that can send these messages on unencrypted to a central server. The privacy protection is broken.
This AI scanning tool would live on your devices, reviewing your private chats before you even hit send, like this always-on spy embedded in your phone. And even if you trust the EU to use it responsibly, what happens when another government wants to broaden it?
They say they want to scan for child pornography. Who decides what is being scanned for in 2 years from now? Who controls what maybe in Hungary it's being scanned for, who are not like the perfect democratic country we would like to have in the EU?
Once you accept this type of scanning, you create what's known as a backdoor. And once that door's open, you cannot close it again. Thankfully, this week, Germany said no. A vote was scheduled for mid-October, and it will either not pass or they won't even vote on it. A decision that may have killed chat control for now.
So right now it looks like Germany is opposing, which means that in the EU Council, chat control will not get a majority.
In effect, Germany may have just saved privacy, not only for Europe, but for the rest of the world as well. And you might be thinking, I'm not in Europe, why should I care? Well, it's because laws like this set precedent.
This is definitely something we need to think about because it would be a precedent. It would be the first time that end-to-end encryption is really broken for everybody. And then, of course, other countries could take this as an example to follow suit.
We often think of privacy as protecting your WhatsApp chats or your photos or stuff like that, but a law like chat control would reach far deeper. It could reshape entire industries on which modern society depends, because if the state can scan all private communications, there's no meaningful distinction between personal and professional. Consider lawyers and legal confidentiality. Clients must trust their communication with lawyers because that confidentiality is fundamental to justice. But under Chat Control's client-side scanning, every message, even with your lawyer, could be inspected before encryption. Or what about journalism? Reporters rely on secure channels for whistleblowers or sensitive investigations. Maybe that doesn't affect you as much as communication with your doctor, your therapist, or health provider, discussing mental health, reproductive health, chronic conditions, genetic data. Those become vulnerable to automated scanning. And finally, consider corporate research and critical infrastructure. Trade secrets, R&D, internal designs, pathogen research, engineering schematics all depend on secure private channels for communication. Do you want an algorithm backed by a government to be able to peek at your mental health records, your negotiations with your lawyer, or even private discussions about a whistleblower case? See, here's the thing. Once you accept scanning for one class of content, even something as terrible as CSAM, you create a tool that can be extended. Today it's child protection, tomorrow it could be political dissent, whistleblowing, protest planning. And on top of that, critics warn that weakening encryption infrastructure across the board makes systems a lot more vulnerable to hackers or even state attackers. Even if you live outside the EU, if you communicate with someone inside the EU, your messages might be subject to scanning too, because service providers will standardize the rule for technical consistency. So this is not just a their problem over there kind of thing. All right, let's pause for a moment. What about protecting children? That is a noble goal, obviously. Nobody disagrees that we should try to prevent abuse of children. But the method really does matter.
There are platforms where the police know something's going on there, and they could look there in a targeted kind of way and then issue court orders for getting IP addresses, for getting email addresses. This is already possible, but of course it is more effort.
Blanket scanning of every citizen's messages doesn't make us safer. In fact, it kind of makes all of us potential suspects. Chat control isn't gone forever. It's been proposed, revised, debated, and revived over several years. Each new EU presidency can reintroduce versions of it.
I'm pretty sure we're not seeing this the last time. We will have this discussion ongoing, but we just have to keep fighting.
Yes, Germany may have blocked it this time, but the fight for digital privacy is ongoing. You wouldn't let a government camera into your home, so why would you let one into your phone? Once privacy is broken, you can't patch it. Encryption isn't about hiding, it's about protecting. So whether you live in Berlin, Bangkok, or Boston, this does affect you, because the day we lose privacy is the day that freedom becomes optional. We need to defend privacy, we need to defy the default.